गाइस वेलकम बैक टू स्टडी विद मी। और आज हम पढ़ने वाले हैं वी आर स्टडिंग हिस्ट्री बट वी आर नॉट स्टडिंग द नेशनल मूवमेंट। हम कुछ और पढ़ने वाले हैं, दैट्स कंटेम्प्रेरी वर्ल्ड, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली मेरा नेशनल मूवमेंट मैंने अगेन आई एम नॉट दैट प्रो एट दैट बिकॉज मुझे अभी भी डेट्स वगैरह याद नहीं रहती है, बट येस विल बी डूइंग कंटेम्प्रेरी वर्ल्ड। अभी हम पहला वर्ल्ड वॉर पढ़ रहे हैं। सो व्हेन वाज द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर हैपन? कब था भाई, कब से कब था बताओ? 1914 to 1918। So yeah, causes of the First World War क्या थे? So welcome back to Study with me. So you can put your volumes down and just study with me. So yeah. So causes of the First World War: division of Europe into two hostile groups. France was defeated very badly in Franco-Prussian War of 1871. Now you guys might be thinking कि ये लड़की इतना डिटेल में क्यों पढ़ रही है? But yes, I will read now in detail. But again, मुझे आज लगा कि मुझे ये लाइन बाय लाइन पढ़ने वाली हूँ मैं डिटेल में, एकदम लाइन बिल्कुल एक भी लाइन नहीं छोड़ते हुए, बिकॉज बिकॉज मुझे करना है। बट अगेन वाइल आई बी अगेन वंस रिविजन अगेन मैं एक साथ साथ दिन में पूरा चैप्टर पढ़ते रहती हूँ क्योंकि मैं भूल जाती हूँ। आई एम भुलक्कड़। सो आई एम गोइंग टू रीड इट वंस अगेन लाइक फ्रॉम line by line now. So division of Europe into two hostile groups. France was defeated very badly in Franco-Prussian War of 1871. After 1871, the German Chancellor Bismarck adopted such a policy as to keep France isolated and prevented her from establishing friendly relations with other European countries. He himself, however, formed a dual alliance with Austria in 1871. Italy joined it later on, and in 1882 it was converted into a triple alliance. As long as Bismarck was alive, he by his diplomacy did not allow any country to make friendship with France. France regarded her isolation as igneous as the first chance came when Bismarck lost power in 1819. After Bismarck resigned, Kaiser William II could not prevent France from having an alliance with Russia. Russia was forced to conclude alliance because in the late 19th century, Russia was an underdeveloped economy with great military power. Modernization of Russia was forced to conclude alliance because in the late 19th century, Russia was an underdeveloped economy with great military power. अभी क्या पढ़ रही हूँ मैं, वापस से वही पढ़ रही हूँ। हाँ, modernization of Russia economy was a matter of urgency. This frequent large investment from France. France established friendly relations with Russia and Britain, and the three countries entered into triple entity in 1907. This agreement was a reply to triple alliance. Later on, Japan joined the triple entity while Turkey joined the triple alliance. Japan joined triple entity. So, Europe was divided into two hostile groups. Consequently, tension and anarchy prevailed in the leadership sphere. Armament race. Among the European nations, there began an armament race. Every major power began stockpiling armaments in the name of self-defense and preservation of peace. As a result, if one country increased its armaments, other countries were compelled to do the same. It filled the atmosphere with fever, apprehension, and mutual hatred. Germany began to increase its naval force and started large-scale production of arms and ammunition. This resulted in race for armaments among rival groups. Britain embarked on a large naval program with a view to achieve parity with German. Britain and France were concerned with Germany's growing military strength. A militant aggressive nationalism. Nationalism refers to the sense of unity felt by people who shared a common history, language, and culture. The 19th century was an era of nationalism. It had become competitive and aggressive. Nationalism means love for one's country and hatred for aggressive nationalism means love for one's country and hate for the other. That was aggressive nationalism. That was what was aggressive nationalism. Each nation thought about its national interest alone. The spirit of nationalism was a strong driving force in European policies of the 19th century. For example, France wanted to get back its provinces of Alsace and Lorraine from Germany. Similarly, Italy wanted to get back the territory of Trento Treste from Austria. Balkan states like Siberia wanted their fellow nationals, slaves who lived in other states, could come together to form a greater Balkan state. Kaiser William II. Honestly, it's good, I guess, right? It's at 43 then. 34 there. Yeah. Kaiser William II, the new emperor of Germany, wanted his country to be the leader of the world. Britain had already emerged as the foremost colonial power with almost a quarter of the world under her control. Thus, the whole atmosphere was charged with military nationalism and interstate rivalries. This aggressive nationalism led to the rise of imperialism, a system by which a powerful nation used to establish its control over another country, either by political pressure, infiltration, annexation, or by outright wars. Once conquered, the country was claimed as a colony. These colonies were governed and administered by the imperial nation through its representative or a puppet government. The imperial nations exploited the resources of these colonies for their interests. Colonies provided raw materials, cheap labor, agriculture, land, and trading ports to the imperial nations. Imperialism had reached its peak by the end of the 19th century, and a new phase of imperialistic expansion had begun. By the time by that time, all the parts of Asia, Africa, and some other areas had come under the control of at least one imperialistic nation of Europe. The entry of Germany in the race for colonies complicated the matter further. The only way for Germany to increase its colonies was by disposing the older colonial powers like Britain and France. Britain was able to maintain its economic predominance in India and in some countries of Southeast Asia, but in Latin America, the Middle East, and the Far East, it lost out heavily due to German competition. The relation between the two countries became strained. All major powers were involved in imperial rivalries. Thus, aggressive nationalism and imperialism filled the atmosphere with fear, apprehension, mutual hatred, and international tension. People felt convinced that international problems could be solved only through militarism. The Sarajevo crisis, the gunpowder of the war, was getting accumulated since long in Europe, but the murder of Austrian Frank Austrian Arduque provided the spark which set the whole European ablaze. The Austrian Prince Arduque Arduque France Ferdinand was murdered in Bosnia capital of Sarajevo on June 28, 1914. The organizer of the assassination was a secret society called the Black Hand, or the Union of Death of extremist Serbian nationalists, whose aim was to unite all the Serbians into a single Serbian state. Austria-Hungary put the blame on the Serbian government for this crime, as Serbia refused to comply with some of the conditions because Russia instigated her. So Austria-Hungary declared a war against Serbia on July 28, 1914. Within no time, this war accumulated. So during no time, this war accumulated. First war, France and Russia came to the help of Serbia. At this time, Germany declared war against Russia. Britain wanted to keep aloof, but when Germany attacked Belgium, then Britain was compelled to join the war in order to safeguard the Belgian neutrality and her own political interest. On one side of three were Serbia, Russia, France, Britain, Japan, Italy, USA, etc. They were called the Allies. On the other hand, Germany, Austria, Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria, and they were known as the Central Powers. Treaty of Versailles. It was signed in 1919. When was the Armistice of France in Sakida? 1914. ठीक है, और तभी हो जाता है 1914 में ही. ठीक है. ट्रीटी ऑफ वर्साइल कब होता है? 1919 में होता है. द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर केम टू एन एंड ऑन 11th November 1918. The Treaty of Versailles was signed on 28th June 1919 in the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, France. The treaty refers to the agreement made with Germany, which had imposed a war on allies. The person who played an active role in framing the terms of treaty included the British Prime Minister Lloyd George, President Woodrow Wilson of the United Nations, Sir M. Clemenceau, the French Premier W. Orlando of Italy. Main commences of the Treaty of Versailles or the consequences of the First World War on Germany. Although the war ended on 11th November 1918, it took 6 months of allied negotiation at the Paris Peace Conference to conclude the treaty. Germany was compelled to sign the Treaty of Versailles and was forced to accept the following terms, which were comparatively very harsh. Germany and her allies were held guilty for aggression, and hence she was forced to cede certain parts of her pre-war territories to Denmark, Belgium, Poland, and Czechoslovakia. The treaty brought about some vital territorial rearrangement. Alsace and Roland were returned to France. More, the Saar Valley, known for its coal mines, was ceded to France for 15 years. Moreover, the two duchies of Schleswig and Holstein were captured by Persians from Denmark in 1864, were returned back to Denmark. Germany had also to lose all her colonial empire, which was divided among the victors. Togoland and Camerons were divided among France and Britain. German colonies in southwest Africa and East Africa were also taken away from her and shared by Britain, Belgium, Portugal, and South Africa. When Japan got Shatunga and Kyushu in China, New Zealand got the Samoa Island. The area of the Rhine Valley was also demilitarized. Germany could not construct or maintain any fortification either on the left bank of the river Rhine or on the right bank. All existing fortifications were required to be destroyed to guarantee execution of the treaty. The German territory west of Rhine was occupied by the Allies for 15 years. The German army was also reduced to 1 lakh, and she was not to have any air force and submarine. Germany had to accept the war guilt, and she was compelled to pay a heavy sum of $33 billion as a war indemnity to the Allies. Thus, the Treaty of Versailles was very humiliating for Germany, so it had far-reaching effects on Germany. It led to the rise of Nazism in Germany. Its leaders, Hitler, violated all the terms of the humiliating Treaty of Versailles and plunged the whole world into another world war. The consequences of the territorial rearrangement after the First World War on Austria-Hungary. The period after the war saw the beginning of the end of the European supremacy in the world. Economically and militarily, the United Nations surpassed Europe to emerge as a world power. The political map of the world, particularly that of Europe, was transformed after the peace treaties. Their results in brief were as follows. Austria and Hungary became separate states. The rule of Ottomans came to an end. Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia emerged as independent states. Germany had to surrender the area of European and Malmö to Belgium. The war saw an end to the autocratic monarchies in Germany, Russia, and Austria-Hungary. The craziest dictatorship in Russia came to an end after the outbreak of Russian Revolution in 1917. Under the impulse of nationalism, Alsace-Lorraine was restored to France. Consequences of the first war, ये सब नहीं पढ़ना है, ये सब सिर्फ हमें ऑस्ट्रिया हंगेरी वाला पार्ट पढ़ना था. अभी हम पढ़ते हैं लीग ऑफ नेशंस. बाय द वे, दिस इज ऑन द डे व्हेन आई वाज शूटिंग दिस वीडियो. तो अभी तक हुआ नहीं है. या लेट्स पुट दिस हियर ऑन दिस बुक. ये गिर जाता है क्योंकि इसमें से पूरा जो जिगट पता वो निकल चुका है. ऐसे ही सही है. हाँ, लीग ऑफ नेशन क्या होता है? देखो, फॉर्मेशन ऑफ द लीग ऑफ नेशंस एज मेंशन अबव, एन इंपॉर्टेंट रिजल्ट ऑफ ट्रीटी ऑफ वर्साइल्स वाज सेटिंग अप एन इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन विद द नेम ऑफ लीग ऑफ नेशंस. इट वाज सेट अप on January 10, 1920 by an American president, Woodrow Wilson, with his headquarters at Geneva in Switzerland. It had 5 main organs: the General Assembly, the Council, the Permanent Court of International Justice, the Separatist Commission, and Community. Objectives of the League of Nations: to achieve international peace and security and to prevent future wars by establishing international relations on the basis of justice and honor, to promote material and intellectual cooperation between the nations of the world so that people's life may become happier and nobler, to formulate plans for the reduction of national armament to the lower point consistent the national safety, to preserve the territorial integrity and political independence of all members of League by following the principle of collective security, to provide for peaceful change in international relations and to reconsider international treaties which had become inapplicable and had become a hindrance to peaceful international relations, to supervise the working of the mandatory system for promoting human welfare. Failure of League of Nation in maintaining peace. In the First World War came to an end in 1918. The world had a sigh of relief, but it was not known after 20 years there would be another world war or another war which could be more dangerous and which could The League of Nations failed to establish peace in the world, which when it had to deal with disputes in which many of the major powers involved. Soon Europe was divided into two rivals as a result of Hitler's regressive policy. Rise of fascism and Nazism. Soon after the First World War, a dictatorial form of government rose in Italy under Benito Mussolini. The word fascism is derived from the fasces, which Italian language means a bundle of rods. A bundle of rods with an axe in the middle was carried by officers attending ancient Roman consuls or dictators. The axe symbolized state authority, and bundle of the rods symbolized that in unity lay strength. Thus, fascism signified unity, strength, and authority. During the post-war period, a violent anti-democratic movement, the fascist movement, had emerged in Italy. The ruling classes found in the fascist movement an instrument to satisfy their ambition. The National Fascist Party was formed in November 1921 under the leader of Benito Mussolini. Thousands of black skirts were recruited to break up strikes and kill socialist and communist leaders. In 1921, the Fascist Party won 35 seats in fascist. On October 12, again 1920, they organized a march on Rome. The government surrendered, and the King of Italy invited Mussolini, who did not even take part in the march, to form the government. Causes of the rise of fascism in Italy: discontent of the Treaty of Versatile, economic crisis, weak government, political instability, activities of the socialists, failure of League of Nations, efforts of the nationalists. Okay? These were the reasons. Now we'll just read one by one in detail. So, discontent after the Treaty of Versailles, Italy joined the Allies in the First World War, and by the secret Treaty of London, she hoped to gain Trento, Trieste, Istrian, Fiume, coastal regions of Dalmatia, Albania, and some parts of Turkey and Germany. But during the Paris Conference, her hopes were dashed to the ground. By Wilson opposition, and so by the Treaty of Versailles she could get only southern Tyrol and Trentino and the coastal regions of Dalmatia. She could get no part of German and Turkish colonial empire. It has been rightly said in this connection, Italy got nothing from colonial dinner. The Italians felt as if they had been deceived and thought that their right demands were ignored. Imperialistic designs of Italy were compelled to ignore this very fact. Just a second, okay. An economic crisis developed in Italy as a result of loss of life and money in the war. Many people had been killed in the war, and millions of rupees had been spent. The national debt had increased manifold. The price and the value of money had decreased. There was a great shortage of food grains in the country, and unemployment was increasing day by day. The industries and trade were ruined. The condition of the middle class people, farmers, and the working class became very critical. As a result of the war, Italy suffered a lot, and her people became very poor. Such a deteriorated condition created unrest in the country. Weak government, a wave of unrest and anger spread in Italy as a result of economic crisis and disappointment and dishonor caused by the Treaty of Versailles. Then the liberal government of Italy was determined in solving the problems of the country, and it was too weak to keep the situation under control. People were much distressed due to the weak policy and inefficiency of the government. They wanted to replace such a weak and inefficient government by a powerful, bold government. This feeling of the people helped fascism to flourish in Italy. It had been rightly said, bold leaders was wanted, and it was supplied by fascists. Activities: the socialists, who included the anarchist, communists, and the social democrats, made the atmosphere more explosive by their revolutionary ideas. They left no stone unturned to increase lawlessness prevailing in the country. The communists spread the revolutionary ideas. Consequently, the peasants extorted the land of the landlords. The workmen organized strikes, broke machines, and took hold of the factories. Strikes took place in post and telegraph departments. The communists started making plans for capturing power by overthrowing the government. They wanted to create lawlessness and indiscipline by their suburbs activities. People became sick of such a state of affairs and wanted a powerful and bold leadership in the country. They wanted such a powerful party in the country which could establish peace and prosperity by ending the lawlessness and insecurity prevailing in the country. Such a state of affairs gave rise to fascism. Political instability in 1919. Democracy was introduced in Italy for the first time since no single party could gain clear majority in the elections. There was a complete instability between 1919 to 1922, and six colonial governments were formed in Italy. Each government had its own policy, and there was no continuity in their policies, as there was not able to solve the problems of unemployment and poverty. The fascists took advantage of prevailing political instability under Mussolini. Failure of League of Nations. The League of Nations, which was established to maintain peace in the world, failed to achieve its aims. It failed to check the rise of dictatorship in Germany, and had it acted in time, the ambitious plans of Mussolini and Hitler would not have materialized. The efforts of the nationalists. There were many nationalists in Italy at that time who became afraid of the activities of the communists and passiveness of the government. The landlords, the rich, the young men, artisans, retired soldiers, teachers, and the middle class people comprise this section of society. They wanted to save the country from failing in hands of communism. They wanted to set up such a powerful government in the country which could do away with bloodlines and unrest. They formed to call themselves fascists by their number increased, and in the end Mussolini organized them into fascist party. In October 1920, different groups of this party attacked Rome from different sides under the leadership of Mussolini. Prime Minister Giotto resigned Emperor Victor Emperor and Mussolini to form a new government. He took all the power into his own hands and started ruling like a dictator. He crushed his opponents very harshly. He resulted in the creation of one party rule in Italy. That party was fascist party, and its leaders was Mussolini. The Mussolini established a fascist government, a fascist party, and fascism in Italy. He was called the Jews, the leader. Rise of Nazism in Germany. Okay. After the First World War, Germany had to face an economic crisis. There was an unrest in the country. Lawlessness appeared, and there were revolts at many places. The weak government could not control the situation. Kaiser William II, the ruler of Germany, was compelled to resign, and he fled to Holland on November to save his life. The communists tried to get power into their hands, but they failed badly. The Constituent Assembly was formed on January 19 to frame a new constitution for Germany. The new constitution, known as their constitution, was introduced on August 10, 1919. It set up a democratic republic in Germany. The new republic had to face many problems. It could not solve these problems, and its failure gave rise to dictatorship. The new republic had to face many dictatorship and Nazism in Germany under the under the क्या है भैया under the leadership of Adolf Hitler. In the elections of Richestan in July 1932, the Nazi Party emerged as a single largest Hitler as a Chancellor of Germany. Several right-wing parties, bankers, industrial and big landlords. Okay. Causes of the Nazism again. Humiliating Treaty of Versailles, economic crisis, spread of communism. Germany had no faith in democracy. The volunteer corps, personality of Hitler, making the best use of party strife, anti-Semitic propaganda. चलो पढ़ते हैं अभी डीपली अगेन थोड़ा अच्छे से feeling so cold. It's really -50 degrees Celsius यहाँ पे, though it's not, but yeah, I feel it's like -50 degrees. Humiliating of Treaty of Versailles. Germany was compelled to sign the Treaty of Versailles, by which she had to pay a huge war indemnity. This treaty was very harsh and humiliating. Germany lost its overseas colonies, 1/10 of its population, 13% of its territory, 75% of iron, and 26% of coal to France, Poland, Denmark, Lithuania. Germany was forced to pay compensation amount to 6 billion. Many Germans held the new Weimar Republic responsible for the disgrace at Versailles. This created the feeling of dissatisfaction among the people of Germany. The Republic was regarded as a symbol of national disgrace. Germany wanted to establish her old prestige, and Hitler assured the Germans about the restoring their old prestige. They became his followers. Economic crisis. Germany had to face an economic crisis after the First World War. She suffered heavy loss of life and property in the First World War. After the war, many soldiers became unemployed, were thrown out of employment. In 1921, there was however a great slump in Europe called the Great Depression. It affected Germany also. Germany was in grip of unemployment and starvation. The prices rose and value of money declined. The Republic failed to solve the economic crisis. Hitler took advantage of the situation. The Germans believed in Hitler and his promises. Spread of communism. Being inspired by the Russian Revolution of 1980, Germany communists also tried to bring about a revolution in Germany. Hitler feared that Germany would become a slave of Russia if communism spread here. There, he exposed the destructive results of communism to people. He aroused the national feeling among the people and enlisted them against communism. Consequently, the workmen and mass joined the Nazi party in large number. Germany had no faith in democracy. The Germans had no faith in democracy. Democracy was against their culture and traditions. They were unable to understand and follow the democratic institutions. They preferred prestige and glory to liberty and freedom. They at once gave whole heart support to a strong man of action like Hitler, who could transform their dreams into reality. Thus, the mentality of Germans helped Hitler to become dictator, making the best use of party strife. There were many political parties in Germany: Social Democratic, Nationalist, Royalists, and the Communists were the chief parties. The period from 1919 to 1933 was a period of party strife in history of German Republic, when each party tried to gain its weakened the Republic, and Nazis gained good opportunities. Weimar Republic was too fragile. Within its short life, the Weimar Republic saw 20 different cabinets lasting an average to 39 days, and too many problems necessitating emergency suspension of civil rights and rule by the decree. People lost faith in democracy and yearned for stability. Personality of history. Hitler possessed a very influential and charming personality. He was a first-rate orator. He was a resourceful person, a tireless worker, and an able organizer. His speeches were very efficient and great logic in them. Naturally, the people began to have a blind faith in him, and they started thinking of him as a great leader. It had been rightly said of propaganda, he was a master. He was a past master of propaganda. Okay, the voluntary Krupps German military force had been greatly reduced by Treaty of Versailles. Many soldiers were returned with sulfur and unemployment. These soldiers, settlers, crushed the opposition parties with the help of his volunteer Krupps, and later on he greatly organized and strengthened his party with their help. Anti-Semitic propaganda. The anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish propaganda carried out on by the Nazi Jews as traitors and blamed them of conspiring with the Allies during the war. They impressed upon the Germans that the cause of their hardships were Jews who exploited the German economy. As a result, many Germans railed behind the Nazi party. So, comparative study of Nazi and fascism. So, कुछ similarities and कुछ differences are there, and we'll be done with this. फिर हम वर्ल्ड वॉर पढ़ेंगे डायरेक्टली. सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर पढ़ेंगे. क्या क्या causes और सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर कैसे खत्म हुआ and all that. Yeah. Similarities between fascist and Nazist ideologies. ठीक है. अभी देखो, both fascism and Nazism were supported of one party, one leader. Mussolini in Italy and Hitler in Germany. They were dictators through and through. No one could challenge the authority of the leader of the party. Both Mussolini and Hitler had all the military and civil powers, and nobody could criticize them. Both fascism and Nazism preferred the state as compared to the individual. They believed the individual existence for the society state. Both fascism and Nazism were the supporters of imperialistic and aggressive policy. Italy was ruled by King Victor Emmanuel during ठीक है यार. डिफरेंसेस अब देखो, डिफरेंसेस फासिज्म और नाजिज्म में. The ideology of fascism developed in Italy under the leadership of Mussolini, while ideology of Nazism flourished under the guidance of Hitler. Another difference between fascism and Nazism was on the so-called concept of race. The Nazis felt proud that they were discontents of the Aryan race, but fascists were not so keen on such concept of race. The Nazi party was deadly against the Jews, much because of their inferior race. They wanted even sent to the concentration camps to meet their end, but Italians were not so much against the Jews, so long as they remained faithful to the state. Nazism supported state intervened cultural production. According to them, the arts should promote the ideas of Nazi doctrine. On the other hand, fascists in Italy did not restrict artistic expression and encourage creativity rather than promoting the fascist style. कितना ये लग रहा है पता मुझे. It's okay. Similarly, similarities between the cause of Nazism and कुछ similarities भी तो थी ना यार. ऐसे हुआ राइस भाई मेरे बाल लिटरली जस्ट अ सेकंड. Okay, this is little better. हाँ, discontented of the treaty of versatile unemployment and declined production in trade and agriculture, fear of spread of communism, hatred for democratic principles, political instability and class conflict, failure of League of Nations. The Second World War, तो भी second causes of the Second World War पढ़ेंगे ना, तो rise of Nazism in Germany, rise of fascism in Italy, Japanese policy of expansion, invasion of China, dissatisfaction with the Treaty of Versailles was the main policy of appeasement, failure of League of Nations, immediate cause of Hitler's invasion to Poland. ये थे हमारे कुछ, ये अभी हम इसको deeply पढ़ते हैं, ठीक है. And also we have like attack of Pearl Harbor, of Hiroshima Nagasaki वो भी था. And consequences of the second world war होने के बाद क्या हुआ, impact of the war on different countries powers, Cold War and the Berlin blockade happened. फिर हमारा ये बना United Nations Organization UNO. All this, by the way guys, it's almost 30 minutes. Just saying you guys कि मेरा जो चार्ज है मेरे फ़ोन में चार्ज नहीं है, मतलब है obviously, अब आप देख रहे हो, but it's literally 4% and it can die at any point of time. So just saying guys, thank you so much for watching, love you all, and yeah, you can enjoy it. अभी मैं सब पता नहीं कब होगा यार, तो मैं आउटरो नहीं कर पाऊँगी, तो मैंने बोल दिया अभी. So yeah. Dissatisfaction with the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles imposed on Germany was very harsh. It was a dictated peace and Germany was forced to sign it. The defeated nations, especially Germany, had to cede many of her territories and all her colonies were forcibly taken away from her. Germany was divided into two parts for the benefit of Poland. She was burdened with huge war indemnities which she could never pay. Her military power was considerably reduced. The treatment meted out to her was based on the spirit of revenge. Consequently, that treaty created hatred in the minds of Germans. It was a black spot for Germans and they wanted to wash it away. This could never be done without armament, and such war became quite inevitable. Rise of Nazism in Germany. The democratic development could not succeed in Germany because of many reasons. It gave rise to dictatorship in Germany. So Nazi party essentially progressed under the leadership of Hitler. By 1934, he took all the powers into his own hands and became the dictator of Germany. He rejected the Treaty of Versailles and increased his military power. He fortified the Rhineland and annexed Austria's Sudetenland and ठीक है, not Switzerland, Czechoslovakia, etc. into his own empire. He wanted to regain the glory and prestige of Germany and make it a world power. In order to achieve its objectives, the Nazi party followed the path. So rise of Nazism in Germany, dissatisfaction with the Treaty of Versailles. Italy joined the Allies in the First World War with high hopes, but she was not satisfied with the territories she gained. Consequently, dictatorship was established there under the leaders of Mussolini. He introduced many reforms and put a new life in people of Italy by giving military training to them. He wanted to revive the glory of old Roman Empire. Italy, like Germany, adopted aggressive policy and captured Abbasia, Albania. Like Hitler's Mussolini aggressive policy gave a severe blow to League of Nations and created an atmosphere of hostility in the world. Another cause of the war was Japanese policy of expansion. The ambition of Japan increased after the First World War. Though Japan and China fought on the side of the Allies in the First World War, yet Japan got more concession than China. She developed her navy. ठीक है. Oh God, इतना तो हम डायरेक्ट इमीडिएट कॉज पढ़ते हैं. लेट्स ट्राई रीडिंग इमीडिएट कॉज लास्ट में एक बार. So yeah. Okay guys, so immediate cause पढ़ते हैं, but before that let's have our so this is very important. Yeah, immediate cause. Hitler's invention of Poland in 1938. Germany demanded the city of capital in Poland.